New patch, new tier list. We're doing a tier list today for high rank. We are ranking for Eternus. But I'll give you my thought processes in detail and I'll explain to you why some of the characters you feel like are doing well in your games are not doing very well in high rank. I will have a video out very soon that goes over the issue, the great balance issue we have right now in Deadlock. So if you have been living under a rock, if you haven't seen the patch, the latest patch, the Halloween patch, it didn't really address a lot of issues. It tried to mini buff some of the really poor characters, like the D tier characters from last patch. It nerfed some of the outliers, the S tier characters from last patch, but overall a lot of characters didn't get addressed. And the issue right now in high rank is that half the roster basically feels insanely strong and the other half feels insanely weak. So the reason we have the Void tier is literally because there seems to be a big discrepancy between viable characters right now in high rank and non-viable characters, right? Like literally the Void will be occupied by very few people, like people that are actually balanced. The Void is the actual balanced character, but yeah, as you'll see, there's not a lot of balanced characters. It really feels like the characters are either completely busted or completely useless. We'll start with Abrams. I think he's very solid, okay? And this is, again, Eternus ranked. I'm not going to put him S tier. I forgot to turn the alerts off. He has a lot of things going for him. Number one is that he just doesn't die, ever, right? If you play him well, he has really great initiation. He can steal mid-boss with the ult. And he doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses, other than the fact he has to get close range to kill you. He didn't really get hit by any nerfs in the patch, other than Spirit Snatch got nerfed a bit. And Abrams is a Spirit Snatch user, but he's a very solid A tier. Same for Bebop, okay? Tanks right now are very good, because tanks are like the only characters in the game that can survive all the Spirit Nuke that is coming in. And right now, the meta in high rank is mostly Spirit Nuke. Billy is one of the Void characters. And yeah, I think it's crazy to me. I consider Billy a very strong character. But even in his state, he's just mediocre. And that's when you can like first be like, oh, wait, maybe there's something really wrong with the balance. When a character like Billy, that on paper feels really good, is actually just kind of okay, there is a big issue. And again, Billy, not really a lot of changes, right? He did get hit by Spirit, Snatch, Nerf, just like Abrams, but otherwise, he's a very solid character. First example of them failing to balance a character is Calico. So Calico was absolute S tier before this patch, and she got nerfed, okay? Now, the nerf on Calico was that they made the base damage on Gloom Bombs lower and the scaling lower, but they made it so every Gloom Bomb but the first one hits for 65% damage instead of 50, okay? Which means, someone did the math, if you hit 4 or more Gloom Bombs, starting from level 2 Gloom Bombs, you do more damage than before, which you should be doing on Calico if you play properly. So, what do I mean by that? Calico might feel weaker for the average player in Archon that misses a bunch of Gloom Bombs. In Eternus, she's even stronger than before. What are we doing, Yoshi? What are we doing? And again, that was the only changes, right? Dorman got nerfs to his gun build, okay? So Dorman had this stupid-ass gun build where you put people on the wall, they can't move, and you just headshot them. But as compensational buff, he got more damage on his scaling on his bell. So it turns out he's still insanely strong, really playable. You can still run gun. Gun is a bit weaker, but hybrid / support Dorman is even stronger than before. Another character that was really, really strong before, and instead of nerfing them a tiny bit, they give them compensating buffs. Right? Like, it feels like Valve is scared of over-nerfing characters, but what this turns into is the character stays the exact same strength, or in the case of Calico, even stronger, which is crazy to me. Drifter, on the other end, right? Drifter was an absolute dogshit character before in high rank, simply because in high rank, people group up and it's very hard to find isolated targets in Eternus, okay? It just is. So what that means is one of Drifter's abilities is basically non-existent. So they buffed him a tiny bit, right? To make him more playable, because again, like one of his abilities just doesn't work a lot of the time. But for whatever reason, they compensatingly nerf him. And the nerf he got arguably was really big, right? So he only gets 4% from a kill on his passive, but an assist gives 1 instead of 3 now. So 1% for an assist, which means, like, yeah, his gun base damage and his gun scaling is a bit better, but in return, if you get like kills, it's worse. So he didn't even get better. And he's still dog shit. I don't know why Valve is so scared of making drastic balance changes. But it just seems like they're kind of out of touch with the community. And I think the reason is that they want to keep mostly low-rank players happy, which is fine for me, right? Like, everyone is supposed to have fun. But I always say you can't balance a game for low rank because low rank players will play the game suboptimally. You can't do it, right? It's not a thing. Dynamo, same story, right? Like, very bad or like mediocre at best. So they gave him tiny buffs, right? Like 5% more fire rate after the teleport, a tiny bit of a cooldown reduction on the healing. So he's still really bad. Like, no major buffs, even to the worst characters in the game, which I guess we can get this out of the way now. 7 is still absolute dog shit. They increased his scaling on the ball a tiny bit. I played around with ball builds yesterday. He feels fucking awful. Like, he feels absolutely terrible still, which makes me sad. Like, someone on Reddit said, when 7 is meta, the game is fun, right? For whatever reason, they don't want 7 to be meta, or they don't want 7 to even be playable. And again, still doing well in low rank. Why? Because low rank players don't move out of the ult. That doesn't make 7 strong, he's absolute dog shit. But this is what I mean with when I say you can't balance for low rank, right? If you cannot teach a dog to move out of the 7 ult, then it will always be good, right? If you stand still, you will die no matter what. Has nothing to do with balance, it's just misplay. They've balanced this game for over a year. And people have been complaining about the same shit for over a year and they're not addressing it. Great Talon, still absolute dog shit. I don't mind Talon not being meta, but nothing changed about him. Mediocre at best, not much to say about him. And Haze is like one of those characters that is somewhat playable as a pick character in high rank. When I say pick character, I mean you run like Silence Wave, Surge of Power, and you go in with a Sleep Dart, so you Silence Wave and then you ult. But as a carry, I get this question a lot. Why is Haze not viable as a carry in high rank? Simple reason, or two simple reasons. A, she doesn't do enough damage up front because the entire meta is burst, right? And Haze takes time to start building damage up. But the main reason is she's just incredibly squishy as a carry. She can get all the farm in the world and she will still die in one shot to Spirit Nuke. Because she's just like one of the least tanky characters in the game, okay? That's why you can't play 7 as a... Haze, sorry, as a carry. Holiday. Almost want to put her S tier. I rated her A tier last patch. Paradox got a tiny bit weaker, and I think people figured out that Holiday is basically just like... She's like budget Paradox, but like when I say budget, I mean she does the same thing in different ways. Like she also does crazy gun damage and she has more mobility, but she's not as tanky as Paradox. So yeah, pick character, S tier character, and see, by people in chat like Roju that say no way Calico is at S tier, Mao, that's the issue with the game, right? Because people play in like lower rank and they don't perceive Calico as strong, and then in Eternus, she's like Thanos. She's absolutely broken. Okay, Infernus, first hot take of the video, I want to say. Is this even a hot take? I think he's actually kinda overrated now. I'm gonna make it controversial. I don't think he's S tier anymore. I'll put him A. B is too low. He's not a void character. I want to say Infernus is still one of the 2 gun carries you can kind of play. Other being Ivy. But Ivy in ranked is definitely not strong. So I guess we can get this out of the way first. Like Ivy in ranked is definitely not a crazy carry. Infernus is like the only left click character that is still playable right now. Like the only gun character. And I say that while acknowledging the fact that 99% of Infernus' damage still only comes from his spirit damage, right? It's not the gun itself. The gun itself got nerfed. He got nerfed quite hard in gun damage, actually. So yeah, Infernus only playable gun character in the game. Kelvin, another example of them refusing to balance. Like if they asked any pro players or high-level players, everyone could have told them that Kelvin is OP. Like, he literally was banned every single game in Night Shift the last week. He was pick or ban forever for the last few months. First pick or first ban for the last few months. And what do? They nerfed his ult cooldown by like 20 seconds, right? And gave him like 1 less region in lane. And he's still fucking broken. Like, a tiny slap on the wrist, still the most broken character in the game. Lady Geist, I think she's a B tier character. She has like a hybrid role that she fills very well. Like, she can tank while dealing damage. She's not a hard carry, but you know, she's viable. And I think you can play her in comp and not absolutely feed your brains out. But again, in most cases, just way weaker than the meta characters. And yeah, I want to talk about this character next. Absolutely Thanos in Eternus. Never dies. One-shots you at any point in the game. Wins lane for free, best laner. Wins mid-game for free. Has the most farm in the lobby in basically every game she plays in Eternus because she just gets more money. Because you can farm faster, sustain longer, and kill faster. Mina has no weaknesses. Mina has no weaknesses. She does everything. Like, E-Shift got nerfed a bit, but that doesn't really matter for Mina. Because Mina, you teleport out, and then if you have E-Shift, you E-Shift once, and then you have teleport again, and then you're definitely out and you don't die. The overall trend is Spirit nukers are just better than anything else in the game. And they have been for a long time, and it's getting worse and worse. Gun characters just kind of fall behind. Like this character, for example, Wraith. Super controversial always when I put Wraith low. Because I know Wraith performs well in low rank. I know she does. And the reason is because once you get to like 30 minutes plus, she does insane damage. But you have to understand, in higher rank, Wraith, you don't get there. Most high rank games end in 20-25 minutes, so Wraith never gets to the point where she starts doing damage. And before that point, she feels like a lane creep. And that's the issue with the balance, right? Like, it might seem like she's good or really good for you guys in literally every rank up to Ascendant. But then once you get to like really high rank, she falls off a cliff. She loses every lane. She's one of the weakest laners, if not the weakest laner in the game. And then she gets bullied the entire game, and you can never get to the point where you actually get farm. In my opinion, this might sound selfish, but in my opinion, low rank players just have to learn how to end the game faster. Like, just because you die to a Wraith after level, like after minute 30, 35, doesn't mean Wraith is OP. It just means that you failed to end the game in a decent manner, right? How do you balance that? You can't balance for low rank. If you can't end the game and hard late game carries become OP because you can't end the game, that's a you issue, you know? Lash. I don't know. One of the most beloved characters in the game. Absolute dog shit. Been dog shit last patch, he got no buffs. I almost want to put him D. Yeah, I'm gonna put him D in Eternus at least. You wanna know why? In Eternus, when the enemy team has a Lash, you buy counterspell and he can't do anything to you. You can counterspell the slam, you can counterspell the ult, he does nothing. He's bad in lane, and then he's literally useless as soon as the enemy team gets counterspell. And the enemy team will buy counterspell against Lash. Right? It's just... I don't know. What are we doing with the balance, Yoshi? It's not about nerfing counterspell, by the way. I think counterspell is a skillful item. It should stay this strong. I just don't know what we're doing with the balance. Like, how are we not buffing someone like Lash, who's clearly underperforming, has been underperforming in high rank, and then, like, Calico and Mina stay the exact same, or become even better? What are we doing, Yoshi? McGinnis? Same example. I rated her D tier last patch, and now she's just a tiny bit better, because they made her Medicinal Spectre, like, linger for a second, so she's a tiny bit better, but she's still, like, way below playable. And again, I want you to look at the Void. Right? You have to understand that the difference between those characters and those characters is just massive in high rank. It's massive, right? So don't think that Geist or like Haze or Billy, because they're in B, are like very playable. These characters are just better. They're just better in every regard, right? If one team has like 6 of those characters and the other team has 6 of those, you lose every time in Eternus. Every time. The thing with pro play is that if you can make it in a pro environment, you can allocate resources to Ivy to make her the hard carry, the late game hard carry. It's not going to happen in a ladder game, even in Eternus. It won't. It's a different game they're playing in pro, and if people are curious, I'm down to do a pro tier list sometime, and in pro, Ivy would be higher, but otherwise this list would look very similar. Mirage. Like, yeah, he's somewhat playable, but he's just worse than the SD characters. And another thing all these characters have in common, most of them just win the lane, by the way, right? Or they're really tanky like Abrams. Like, these characters also just win the lane. I remember a time when Mirage was considered one of the best laners in the game, now he's just kind of mid. He's just kind of existing. And again, Yoshi hates gun characters, so... yeah. Moonquill? I want to put him A tier. Is that controversial? You get value by pressing a button. And you can't die. Why? Because Mo has one of the best carry pick-off ults in the game. Mo gets value no matter how much money he has, right? Sandblast, scoring, you don't die. Like, character is actually really, really strong right now, I think. Okay, Paige. In pro play, again, I would rate her A, actually. She's doing really well in pro play. I have to rate her A, actually. She's performing really well in Eternus right now. Paige is like the character where it's hardest to evaluate the impact. You don't notice it, but Paige wins fights. Just by keeping people up with like, big overshield, you know? Guardian ward. Oh, I locked you down, you can't chase me. It's hard to notice her impact, but then you go back in the VOD and you look at what she did and she's like insane. Like she's actually really, really strong. In fact, she's like better than Mo probably, and maybe better than Eternus. I think she's really strong. And by the way, Paige is one of the best laners in the game. If you combine her with like a Yamato or like a Mina, anyone that can like sit in front of her and tank for a bit, she just gives overshield to those people. They get higher fire rate. Paige is crazy in lane. Yeah, very strong character. Paradox. Again, third most broken character in the game before the patch, right? After Victor, Infernus, and maybe Kelvin. Slap on the wrist. Tiny, tiny gun nerf. Absolutely broken character in lane. Has more HP than most characters in lane. Paradox doesn't look like a tank. She has like 2000 HP at minute 10. She has more HP than like 80% of the roster. One of the best ults, no cooldowns, a wall. Absolutely broken character. And Baimi, if I wasn't in a good mood today, I would ban you for saying Paradox is balanced. You have no clue what you're talking about. Absolutely most broken character in the game other than Kelvin. Pocket. Same story of Mina. Maybe a bit less than Mina. Spirit nukes you. Doesn't die. The one thing Pocket has, the one thing Mina has that Pocket doesn't have is lane. Pocket is a bit weaker in lane. If Pocket had the same lane strength as Mina, he would probably be even better. Because at least on Mina you have to hit your shots. On Pocket you just press an AoE button and everyone dies. And you can't die because you have multiple abilities that just get you out for free. Pocket has been broken for months. Even before Mina came out, Pocket has been broken and he's not been addressed because little Timmy in Archon loses on him. Because he is kind of a bit harder to get into, right? So because little Timmy in Archon loses, they don't nerf Pocket. And then meanwhile in Eternus, you know, you have a Pocket going in, doing the most damage in every single game by just pressing 4. Yoshi, please. Chiv, same story. But Metro, I checked the win rates and Shiv has a below 50% win rate. Comes up every time, so I'll address it now. Shiv had a below 50% win rate since he came out, and he's been broken for most of that time. Because he's kind of hard to get into. But once you get into him, and Eternus players know what they're doing, this character one-shots you, doesn't die, can execute people, can literally execute anyone in a team fight if they're one-third health. Absolutely broken. Absolutely broken as the character. Some of the highest mobility in the game too, by the way, with the right click. Sinclair, in ladder, I want to say horse shit. The thing is, Sinclair shouldn't get buffed, actually, in my opinion. Because Sinclair, it's a counter pick. Once we get draft in the game, he's gonna do better, right? Because then you can draft Sinclair if the enemy has like really good ults to steal, then Sinclair becomes really good, right? Like if the enemy has a Warden or a 7, etc., then Sinclair becomes really strong because he can steal those ults and get a lot of value out of them. So it's a situational pick, which means if you queue up on this character on ladder, you're just kind of flipping the coin. And right now, a lot of the characters that Sinclair wants to steal the ult from are not meta, so he's doing even worse. That's why we also saw him a bit being played in pro play, if you watch a trolley tournament, because sometimes there are comps where you can have good ults to steal, but a lot of the time you just kind of get fucked by RNG. I think Victor is still crazy. He did get nerfed quite hard, and he really fell out of pro play quite hard. But I think he's still crazy, and there's no shot I can rate him lower than like mid A tier. Because he's still like, he just doesn't die, right? Like he's a bit weaker, but like he's still crazy. Maybe not S tier, but definitely A tier. Vindicta. Every time they nerf Vindicta, they buff something else about her. Last time Snake was OP, so they nerfed they buffed the snipe and the flight, and now Vindicta is back to sniping, rapid recharge, and flying. and she just kills everyone with like snipes and left clicks again. First pick, first ban in most pro games. For ladder, I'll rate her a bit lower because you need a team that plays around her, I want to say. But yeah, crazy character. Valve really has like favorites, it feels like, with the characters. Viscus is like B tier in ranked. Like, he's playable. Not much to say about him. Other than, you know, he's very hard to get into. And even in Eternus, most players don't really play him to his max potential. So, and there's only really one playstyle that's viable, which is like the one-shot build again. And if you want to one-shot people, then Mina and Pocket are just better, you know? Viper! Dark horse pick. I can't rate her A tier, there's no shot. I think Viper is really good in lane now, actually, after all those buffs. Like, she does a lot of damage in lane. She's kind of a lane bully. But she seems to fall off really hard after lane. Like, Viper is still in that weird spot. In fact, I'll rate her C tier. Like, I don't see Viper carrying anymore. And I don't see Viper... I don't see Spirit Viper a lot either. The issue this character also has is she's not super popular. So there's really not a lot of people playing her in high rank. But, yeah. She probably still needs some more reworks. Warden got buffed. I'll put him B tier. I think Gun Warden is a bit more playable again. But again, as I said, gun carries in general are just dog shit. So Warden is dog shit. And Old Warden is not playable anymore, I think. Like you can play it, but it's just as bad as gun, if not worse, in my opinion. And then Yamato. Rated Yamato too low in the last two tier lists. S tier character. She's one of the few carries that are viable. And when I say carry, I mean Yamato wants a lot of farm until she gets online, but she's a spirit carry. The way you play Yamato right now is you build Spirit Snatch, and you do a lot of Spirit Burst damage, and you don't die because of your ult, right? All your S and A tier characters are characters you don't play. I think I'm usually pretty good with being fair about the evaluation of my tier list. And I think most people would actually agree with this as an Eternus tier list. That's the thing. Like, on a personal level, I've never felt this frustrated with the game, because I do play gun carries, and it really feels like gun carries are unplayable in Eternus. Really. Other than, like, maybe Infernus. Like, gun carries just don't feel playable. Which is sad, you know? Wasn't the point of Deadlock that it's, you know, 50% or 40% hero shooter and 60% MOBA, right? I love the MOBA aspect of Deadlock. Can we fill the void, Yoshi? Can we, like, actually make a big balance patch that changes up the meta? Like, what's the issue? Like, why are characters that have been broken for months, these four in specific, right? Like, broken for months. This guy too, I'll include him. Why do these characters get no nerfs? Like, who in their right mind thinks Mina is balanced? Or who in their right mind thinks Paradox or Calvin are balanced? Like, how are we slightly nerfing these characters and not buffing any of the dogshit characters that haven't seen play in weeks? It's the same meta, but even worse, you know? Like, the meta really didn't change much. It's just that Spirit Nukers are even better than before. Yeah, Paradox has been broken for a year. And she's still up there.